Today we are doing a tax savings mid-year check-in, and basically we're going to be talking about the essential strategies that small business owners need to be thinking about here in mid-year. Now, it's hard to say this, but can you believe that we are already halfway through tax year 2024? It seems like this year is flying by, and if you're like me, there's a lot of things at the beginning of the year I'm like, oh yeah, like I have plenty of time to get that done, and now we're mid-year. And a lot of those things haven't gotten done. And so now I'm taking the time to put these things on my calendar and saying, how can I focus and make sure that I can put this on my attention to get it done? And so my hope for today's episode is that I can do the same to you. I'm going to come to you now to say, where are you at in your tax planning journey? We're halfway through the year. And as we know, tax planning is done between January and December. So we're halfway through that tax planning journey and season here in 2024 and where you're at. How many strategies have you learned so far this year? How many of those strategies have you implemented? And I would say that if this number is under 2, I would say now is the time to take action. If it's above that, let's look at the implementation. Where are you implementing? How quick or how much of an impact has that implementation brought to you and your business? And let's keep that momentum going. So that's what we're going to be talking about today is what can we do here mid-year? Check in, see where you're at, and hopefully this kind of lights a spark under your butt and says, okay, I need to go out and do some more tax savings. I need to go out and do some more learning. I need to go out and actually implement these various different things that I'm learning. So first off, we have a lot of different solutions. Whatever you're looking for when it comes to tax strategies, we likely have a solution that's meant for you. So whether you like to listen, watch, or read, we have a free solution. You can listen to our podcasts on any podcasting platform that you may have on your phone or on your computer, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Just type in Small Business Tax Savings Podcast will pop up, subscribe. You can watch our episodes live on our YouTube channel. Just go to taxsavingstv.com. Or we do a blog post for nearly every episode that you can find at taxsavingspodcast.com. And if you've dug into all of our free content and say, I want more, I want unlimited access to your team, I want to have consultations with tax experts, I want to go through live implementation of all these strategies right along with your crew, then you can reach us at TaxElm, TaxElm. So wherever kind of resource, wherever you're at in your journey, we have a solution for you. All right. So now let's talk about some of the things you should be thinking about. First off, maximizing deductions. And we talk about this so much on our podcast. When we say maximizing deductions, we're not saying go out and buy a bunch of things you don't need and that's how we're going to get a tax deduction. We're mainly talking about how can we take spending that we're going to do, but we're now doing it and using after-tax spending and turn it into pre-tax spending. And so we should always constantly throughout the year, every time we're swiping our card, be thinking about this idea of maximizing deductions. Is there a business purpose for this? If so, let's run through the business and let's get a business deduction for it. Now, of course, we need to keep documentation and all those good things on file, but let's constantly be thinking about how can I find a business purpose for this? And let's turn this spending that I was likely going to do anyways from after-tax spending into pre-tax spending. When we talk about maximizing deductions, we talk about things like the home office deduction. If you have a home office, they're spending that, whatever you're doing in that home, that cost of that home, you're spending no matter what. But now as a business owner, you get a deduction for that. So now we're taking some of that spending that was all after-tax spending, but now we're utilizing it in the form of a deduction for your business, and we're getting a deduction for that. So that's one item. Maybe you have an automobile that you use personally, or that's a personally owned automobile, but you're also using it for business. Another great example, let's be tracking mileage. When are we going to business appointments, meeting clients, going from one office to another office, traveling? Let's look into these different areas. Now, if you have a home office and you have personal use of an automobile and you're organized as an S corporation, you're going to be utilizing an accountable plan to reimburse yourself personally for those items. Having a proper accountable plan set up and in place is important because that makes that reimbursement that you made a business deduction and not taxable to you as the owner of the S corporation. So we want to make sure we have an accountable plan set in place. We have documentation, different things like that on our podcast and TaxElm and everything else. So definitely check out if you're an S corporation, you want to make sure that you have your accountable plan in place and that you're regularly making those reimbursements on a regular basis based on that accountable plan. So this concept of maximizing deductions, we did a couple episodes earlier, a couple weeks ago. Definitely check those out where we talk about this concept of maximizing deductions, give you some ideas. But the concept is that, hey, if we're swiping a card, let's see if we can find a business purpose for this. Is there a way that we can make this an ordinary and necessary business expense and turn it from after-tax spending into pre-tax spending? Now that we're mid-year, we want to do an entity kind of review. Is the entity structure that we have set up and that we've been utilizing, is it still the right structure? You might be operating as a sole proprietor. And as a sole proprietor, you might be starting to, you had this business, you didn't really know whether it was going to take off, where things were going to go, but now it's really starting to take off. And you might be thinking, well, should I be an LLC? Should I be an S corporation? So you might want to start revisiting your entity structure. Maybe you already have an LLC, but you've been thinking about this S Corp and just not sure if it makes sense yet, or it didn't make sense in the past, but maybe it does now. And typically we say once you hit profit of around $50,000 or more, that's when the S corporation starts to make sense. So if you're in that $50,000 or more range in profit and you expect that to continue and you're not an S corporation, you might want to start looking into becoming an S corporation. And we're going to be talking about S corps in a future episode that we're doing in a few weeks. So definitely tune into that if that makes your setup. Did you start a new business? And do you have that entity structured correctly based on the other businesses that you own? Did you bring on a partner? And do you have that entity structured correctly? So these are the questions that mid-year is a great time to revisit these things and say, am I a sole prop? Should I be an LLC? Am I an LLC? Should I be an S corporation? I have this new activity, these new businesses, these new things this year. Should I be organizing them correctly? Now is a great time to visit that and think about that. Retirement planning. Retirement planning is something that we oftentimes want to plan ahead of time. So do we have a retirement account set up? We did a series earlier this year with one of our partners for retirement planning, where we talked about different plans that if you're just no employees, what type of plan options are available to you? Plan options if you have employees, what kind of plan options are available to you? So we want to be looking at that retirement piece. Are you putting money away towards retirement? Are you looking to set up a retirement account? If so, get that ball rolling now. There's deadlines, there's stuff that you want to be thinking about. If you already have a retirement plan set up, have you funded it? Or have you at least thought about your plan to fund that retirement account here in 2024? So again, these are the kind of things that we're going to be looking for. And again, if you don't have a retirement account set up and you have employees, now is a great time. With the retirement tax credits that are out there, there's never been a better time where you can literally almost pay for this, at least for the first few years, pay for this entire retirement account as well as your contributions as the employer. So a great thing to be looking into. And then we want to talk about all these other various tax strategies that come into play, whether you're in real estate investing and how that works from a tax standpoint, hiring your kids in your business. I always say, if you have a kid that's older than 7, most of the times they should always be working in your business in some sort of way. Now, it's not going to be a lot of money or anything like that at a younger age, but we should always be looking and say, how can we incorporate our kids in our business? This is a great way to move after-tax spending into pre-tax spending. So think about some of those things. The Augusta rule, the 14-day home rental rule. Have you learned about that? Is that something that you might qualify for, that might make sense in your business? What about automobile expenses? Are you doing those different things? Like if you are tracking your mileage, do you have that mileage log set? These are things we want to be revisiting, we want to be thinking about mid-year. Is there any equipment that maybe you're going to need for your business before year end? Let's start planning out what that might look like. So we're not sitting in November trying to get this piece of equipment in that's on a 2-month leg that we need or want as a tax deduction this year. Start to do some early planning for that. What about meals and dining and travel? Meals and dining, are you tracking kind of the business purpose of a lot of these meals that you're doing? Travel, are we trying to find ways that we can associate business activities with maybe travel that we're going to do anyways, but now get a deduction for some or all of that travel? These are the types of things we want to be thinking about and the types of things that we have time yet to do this implementation, but we need to start moving that ball forward. What about health strategies? Are you funding your health savings account? Are you maximizing that out? Are you taking self-employed health insurance deduction? Are you doing things correctly there? If you have high medical costs, are you doing the best planning possible around those types of items? So those are health care strategies. There's a lot of different strategies out there that we want to be thinking about mid-year that we either should be learning about by now or that those should already be implemented. And so I'm hoping that by listening to this, you're starting to get those gears rolling, being like, oh yeah, I qualify for that. Oh yeah, this is something that I want to implement in my business, and make a plan of action. What are you going to do? How are you going to get this implemented? How are you going to learn what you need to learn and implement it before year end? And we always talk about learning is one thing, and that's important, because when we talk about tax strategies, I always want business owners to learn the strategy and at least understand the basics. That's a key thing for all business owners to do in any strategy that they're implementing. But learning doesn't provide tax savings. You can learn all day long, and you're not going to save taxes simply by learning. The key is implementation. And not only just implementation, but correct implementation. And so that is where we need to come and take action. And I know that there's a lot of people that listen to our podcast, watch our videos, read our blog, that learn and learn and learn and really know a lot about these tax strategies, implementing them, the concept of them, but they stop there and they don't implement them. And so my hope is that this is that motivation. Start to mark some time on your calendar, on your to-do list that says, I'm going to implement this strategy. Next week, I'm going to implement hiring my kids. 2 weeks from now, I'm going to implement the 14-day home rental rule. A month from now, I'm going to do the home office, the accountable plan, the automobile. Make some time, put some time on your calendar to do the implementation piece. The implementation is where you get the tax savings. Again, learn, which is really good, but until we implement, there's no tax savings. Once that implementation is done, that's where the tax savings are done. And I also want to say correct implementation. Make sure that you implement these strategies the correct way, because you can take a strategy that is completely legal, talked about everywhere in the IRS code, and make it illegal by incorrect implementation. And I've seen this all the time where someone comes to me and says, hey, Mike, I implemented this strategy. Here's what I did. And someone's saying I didn't do it right. And we're saying, well, yeah, you implemented it. You knew the concept, but you didn't dot your I's and cross your T's. You didn't have this documentation or support on file to back it up. You didn't have this log. You didn't have this worksheet to help support that. So implementation, correct implementation is key. And I can't stress that enough. We always want to say, okay, are we learning the strategy? And are we implementing it correctly? Are we dotting our I's, crossing our T's, putting the things on file that are making sure that if the IRS ever comes knocking about this strategy, I have nothing to worry about because I can back it up and support it and I have everything to do. Not only is that going to help you sleep better at night, but it's going to make an audit, if an audit ever happens, it's going to make that audit completely less stressful. So hopefully that is some key things. And within TaxElm, our software, we help people with every step of that implementation process to ensure correct implementation. So remember, learn, but also don't forget about implementation. That's where you get the tax savings. That's what we're here for, to save taxes.
This episode is brought to you by TaxElm. At TaxElm, we understand that saving taxes can be complex and overwhelming for business owners. That's why we're here, to be that tax strategist in your back pocket, ensuring that you pay the least amount in taxes as legally possible. With TaxElm, you receive a tax savings blueprint tailored to your business needs, unlimited access to our team of tax experts, and an annual one-on-one live consultation. You'll also have access to our comprehensive training with videos, downloads, templates, workbooks, guides, and so much more, along with our monthly live trainings to keep you informed and in control. Thousands of business owners across the country trust TaxElm. It's time you did too. Visit us now and take that first step towards paying the least amount in taxes as legally possible. There has never been a better time to join TaxElm. Do not forget about our 30-day money-back guarantee. We guarantee that we will present tax-saving strategies that will, at a minimum, cover the cost of your subscription fee or your money back. This is your risk-free invitation to explore the benefits of TaxElm membership and how it can transform your approach to tax planning and savings. Go to taxelm.com. That is TaxElm.com. Now back to the show.
Another thing I want to talk about is estimated taxes. Estimated taxes, as a business owner, are things that we need to make on a regular basis. As a business owner, most business owners need to make estimated taxes of some sort because you no longer have an employer that is withholding taxes for you and paying the federal government. You're responsible for that. So don't forget about estimated taxes. Now, we did an episode on this earlier, back at the beginning of April on this. So definitely check that out. Estimated taxes are done every quarter. Now, quarters are a little bit different for the IRS when it comes to estimated taxes, so check out that episode, but don't forget about your estimated tax payments. Make sure you're keeping up to date with them and keeping a record of what payments you made, when you paid them, and what agency it was to, whether it was federal, state, and so on. Another item, bookkeeping. So many business owners, they do their bookkeeping in January, February, March. So they're rushing it, putting these files together, throwing it to their accountant. They're missing things. There's things done incorrectly. And it's all because they just didn't take a little bit of time every month throughout the year to complete their bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is the backbone to your business. It's not just for tax purposes. We don't only use bookkeeping for tax reporting purposes. There's a lot of value and insights and different things that bookkeeping can lead us to, not to mention enhance our tax planning because we have a better idea of what's been implemented, what do we need to implement, where's our profit looking like, helps with estimated tax payments. So if you're one of those people that typically would do bookkeeping at the end of the year, I want to encourage you, take the time now, get bookkeeping caught up. Do it on a regular basis. Get on a regular cadence where you're constantly updating your bookkeeping once a month, every other week, whatever it might be. Get on top of that. Final reminder is this mid-year check-in is 1099s. Remember that if you're paying contractors for work, grab a W-9 from them. Now, even if you're paying them under the limit of $600 threshold limit, still grab a W-9 because if you pay them $400 today and then tomorrow you pay them $300, you're over that limit. Even though no individual payment was over that limit, overall, you're over that payment. So grab W-9s from contractors. You're going to thank me later when it comes to year end and you already have those things on file. So let's revisit what we're talking about. This is, again, a tax savings mid-year check-in. What are some of the essential strategies and things that you should be thinking about now that we're here mid-year? Do a review of your tax savings. How many strategies have you learned so far this year? And then how many strategies of those have you implemented? Let's see where we're at today. Let's do another review next month. And hopefully we're just continuing to check up as we get closer to the end of the year. Now we're at the end of June. We have plenty of time left to tax plan. But guess what? Pretty soon we're going to be at the end of November. And I don't want to be having the same conversation with you saying, well, we got a month left. Take action now. Put something on your calendar to take action for that. And we have plenty of resources to learn and to start that implementation process. Whether you like to listen, you can check out our podcast. Whether you want to watch us, go to taxsavingstv.com. Whether you like to read blogs, go to taxsavingspodcast.com. If you want full-on support and implementation help and everything else along the way with this, check out our software TaxElm, TaxElm. When we talk about strategies that we should be thinking about, of course, there's maximizing deductions. How can we take everyday spending, find business purpose for it, and make sure that we're getting a business deduction for it? Turn it from after-tax spending into pre-tax spending while also not losing focus of the obvious strategies out there. Those software that you're using to run your business, that cell phone that you use for your business, that home office, that automobile, that travel. Make sure we're taking advantage of the deductions that are available to us as a business owner. That's a gift the government gives us. Do an entity kind of review checklist. Are you in the right place? If you're starting to profit $50,000 or more per year and you're not organized as an S corporation, definitely start to go down that route. And we're going to be talking about S corps in future episodes, but keep that in mind. Now is a great time to do an S corp election and backdate it to January 1st. Now you have to have an LLC set up. Are you operating as a sole proprietor? Should you be an LLC? These is the kind of entity structuring ideas we want to be thinking about now mid-year. Maybe you started a new business and how does that work? Maybe you have multiple businesses and how do you organize those together? Or maybe you brought on a new partner for one of your businesses and how do you best structure that setup? Start thinking about this entity structure, making sure that you have the structure that will help you succeed in your business. If you don't have a retirement plan set up, start to think about that. Do you want a retirement plan to set up? Now's a great time. There's plenty of tax credits out there. If you have a retirement plan set up already for your business, have you been funding that this year? If not, do you have a plan on how you're going to fund it and how much you're going to fund it with? Start to plan out some of those things. Don't forget about all these other strategies: real estate investing, hiring your kids, the 14-day home rental rule, automobile, travel, equipment purchases, meals and dining, healthcare strategies, all these different strategies that you should be learning about and implementing in your business that we talk about each and every week on our podcast and on our YouTube channel. Start to dive into those. Learn the strategies, but more importantly, implement them. Because until we implement, we don't save taxes. Learning's great. Implementation saves taxes. And remember, correct implementation is key. Because you can take a strategy that's completely legal and turn it illegal simply by doing incorrect implementation. So make sure you're implementing these strategies correctly. If you're a business owner, you might want to think about estimated tax payments. Have you been making them? Keeping record of that, getting caught up if you haven't. Now's a great time to kind of revisit that. How's your business doing? Do you need to make some estimated tax payments? If so, let's get those submitted. Now's a good time for that. Keep up to date with your bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is the backbone to your business. It will help you all year long, not to mention make tax season a little less stressful. Finally, if you're paying contractors, make sure you're grabbing a W-9 from them. So hopefully this was helpful. Again, my goal today is to spark that interest to say, yep, I'm behind, but I'm going to make action. I'm going to take steps forward to ensure that this is the year that I pay the least amount in taxes legally possible. And here are the steps that I'm going to do that. So hopefully that was the push you needed, and continue to tune in every single week where we bring new tax strategies, new ideas, new ways to help you in your business. Because remember, my goal, my passion is to help every business owner in the US pay the least amount in taxes as legally possible. Thank you for listening to another episode, and I will see you next week.
This has been another episode of the Small Business Tax Savings Podcast. If you enjoy our weekly episodes, please leave a review and share with other business owners. You can find previous episodes and more information at www.taxsavingspodcast.com. Thanks for listening and have a great day.